Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chakras and Cusswords. I'm so happy you are here. Welcome. My name is Katherine, and I am your host. Today, we are going to be talking about the South Node and the North Node in astrology. This is part of the astrology series, so if you're just tuning in to the astrology series, I highly recommend you check it out from the very beginning so you can get the full concept of all of the astrology fun. So let's get into it. Let's just go ahead and get in straight to it. So the North Node represents this point of destiny and growth. It's usually indicating kind of like a journey that we see within the life path. You're kind of meant to take it like that. It's an area that really reflects that energy of decisions, also of destiny. They're also known as the destiny nodes, and they have this strong energy that really tips them to movement in area of who and what we are. So it is a point in your chart where you're supposed to grow and step out of your comfort zone. So it is expected that there might be some difficulties that arise during the time that you might be having some change or growth with the North Nodes. The astrological significance of the North Node is known as the dragon's head. It symbolizes your life purpose and lessons you need to learn in this lifetime, in contrast with the South Node, which represents your past. So the North Node is the here and now, that energy around what movement, areas of goals and creation that you are creating here and now. Certain experiences may arise during high energetic moments with the North Node. Also, it is a direct area of the now. It is right now, where the South Node is different. The personal growth moving towards your North Node can feel challenging because it requires you to embrace new experiences and develop unfamiliar traits. So it is an energy that wants to see growth, and it kind of reminds me of like lessons being learned. When we think about that energetic movement of the North Node, it really occurs like a North Node return every 18 years. For an individual, this journey often leads to significant personal growth and fulfillment. The placement in the chart, the sign and the house position of your North Node reveals the qualities and areas of which and where you are meant to focus your energy. So, where does your North Node lie in the chart is a big deal. So you would want to see which house placement that North Node is in. For example, if the North Node is in Aries, let's say, and it's in the first house, it might suggest developing independence, might be the key theme for your overall aspect of journey. Also, it might suggest developing independence and assertion, and also being maybe a little bit more assertive, especially if you're just looking into astrology and you're wanting to see how you can look at your North Node. Definitely, first thing to look at is the sign it's in, but more importantly, the house it's in. While the North Node is in Pisces, for example, the 12th house could indicate that it's time for you to embrace your spiritual side, your spiritual identity, that area of empathy, that area of your conscious here and now. So how do you work with your North Node is definitely located in the house placement of your chart, right? Understanding its meaning, the research and characteristics of the sign of the house with that North Node will give you a better and overall dives into the qualities and the life experiences and areas you need to develop in this life path. Embrace challenges. Recognize that moving towards your north node can feel uncomfortable. So, as once we acknowledge that there's going to be some uncomfortable moments, that's part of life. There's going to be some obstacles. The challenges and opportunities for learning and evolution will occur once we get over that fear of having them. A lot of times, a lot of us do not want to have the challenges. For example, if your north node is in Libra, and let's say it's in the 7th house, I mean, why not? So rhythmically aligned right there. Your life's purpose may involve developing and concentrating with certain relationships. Maybe there's complexes with relationships. Maybe some type of, I don't know, maybe you're a politician. Learning about certain cooperations, alliances, unity, the benefits of relationships, seeing how relationships can really create a fundamental aspect in your life. You might also naturally be more comfortable with qualities of your south node in Aries in the 1st house, such as independence and self-resilience, but also that area of that growth that lies behind the past. So if you had your north node in Libra, we have to remember that the south node is the direct opposite. So then your south node would be in Aries, and that would be in your 1st house, right? If you had your north node in your 7th house, your south node would directly be in the 1st house, and that would be around energy of a different focus for the most part when we look at the south and the north node. The south node is a little bit different. It's different in the way that you think of it, even though it does have strong ties to current states that could be happening. But the way that you analyze the south node is a little bit different. So in astrology, the south node is also known as the dragon's tail. It represents your past lives, your karmic lessons, and the inherited qualities that come naturally to you. So it is in contrast of your north node, which indicates your path of growth and evolution. Here's kind of how the south node is. Okay, so we know with the north node that can be your current purpose, right? It's something that you need to overcome. It's something you need to learn. It's something that will help you in the long run for your current state. So when you're learning new things, we see the obstacles, we see the hardship, we see the difficulty. It's not happening as easy as I wanted it to. But with the south node, these are movements of your past. These are karmic lessons. These are the dragon's tail. The dragon's tail and the dragon's head. Now, when we look at the dragon is freaking magnificent. The dragon's tail is that representation of what you have left behind, what you are saying goodbye to in some situations. It is something that might come very easy for you because you've already dealt with it. So it is very important to look at the south node as well. The south node symbolizes the traits, the habits, and the experiences that you have already mastered in a previous life. So that's why it comes a little bit easier to you. You've been there, you've done that, you've already had that in your current life frame. It is your comfort zone where you feel secure. Also, that can hold you back from your potential growth. If you are always living in the past will continue to come up. So pay close attention to that energy of the south node. The karmic lessons of the south node can indicate unresolved issues or patterns from the past that need to be acknowledged and released. It can show where you might be inclined to take the easy way out. There are sometimes, I love taking the easy way out. So for instance, if you were, let's say you were, we're going to use the same one. You were a North Node in Libra. Okay. It's in your 7th house. Your South Node is in Aries. Let's say there's conflict and there's issues that arise in the relationship. For instance, the South Node, the past behaviors might be focusing on only the self. It's all about me. I don't care what this partner thinks. It's all about me. Very easy to do. It comes very natural for you. Consciously, you might not see it, but you know it's there, right? It comes very easy for you. We understand this about you. Then you're not just focusing on what the North Node is asking you to focus on. You're retreating back to the South Node. It's almost like a form of regression because it feels comfortable, right? Been there, done that, conquered it. I established I'm the priority. We all are the priority, but sometimes if we want a functional relationship, we have to make compromises. So you have to look at that current situation of the North Node, what the North Node is asking of you. The North Node is asking of you to balance. Balance. What is the Libra? The scale. The scale, the energy of harmony, that placement of balance. So there is a point where you do feel comfortable with your South Node. So it's sometimes very hard not to because you've already done it. You've already had those karmic lessons. The South Node can indicate unresolved issues, right? Those unresolved issues from the past that need to be acknowledged and released. And sometimes that's hard. So I love to look at what Pluto is doing in the chart. I also love to look at what the South Node is doing in the chart and seeing areas of releasing, especially if it comes to old habits. It can show where you might need to be inclined to definitely, you always take the easy way out, right? Look at it in areas of where your South Node is. Do you have a South Node in Gemini? Are you able to talk your way out of a lot of problems? It does make you want to avoid the energy of the current situation because the South Node comes so comfortable. The sign in the house, just like the North Node, very important, reveals the quality and the areas of the life of where you have natural talent or you feel comfortable, but it's also where you need to let go of those old habits. So sometimes I say, look at the South Node, especially when people are thinking about becoming creative or they're thinking of like places that they can express some of their talents. Look at the South Node, see what the South Node is doing. But we also have to remember that the North Node hides the key to growth. Identifying your South Node in your chart, just again, the zodiac, the placement, the house, understanding the meaning and the characteristics of the sign and the house associated with your South Node gives you quality in areas of life that you can feel naturally skilled and talented and inclined to continue to do. Acknowledging your strengths recognizes your talents. It's a valuable asset, right? When we understand our strengths, we know our value, we know our assets, we know our way of, I guess you could say, having that domination and having that lead. But the thing is, when we're continuously stuck in these old patterns and just always constantly using these old talents, these old energy sources that we feel so comfortable in, we forget to grow. We're hanging out at the dragon's tail because the dragon's tail feels good, right? It's not seeing the obstacles ahead of us like the North Node does. Release old patterns. Be aware of negative patterns or tendencies that are associated with the South Node that might be hindering your progress. Work on releasing to make more room towards moving towards the North Node and some of those obstacles, because those obstacles create growth. Balance with the North Node. Use those strengths of the South Node, right? Definitely use those strengths, but you want to journey towards the North. Aim for balance and aim for taking on new challenges that definitely present in the North Node. So, example, the South Node is in Aries in the first house. You might have a natural incline to be more independent, to be more assertive, to be more self-reflective, to see the qualities of self. While these are strengths and they are areas of qualities and talents and something that you're good at, you have an association with the North Node in Libra in the 7th house, such as cooperation, such as unity, such as forming relationships, and such as balance and harmony. So if we continue to deny that presence, it will still remain an obstacle. Understanding the South Node can provide valuable insight into your past experiences that help you recognize patterns that may need to be released for your personal growth. By balancing the energies of both the South and the North Node, that can achieve more of the fulfilling of the purpose of life. So when we are looking at the areas of astrological significance with these events and these cycles, we have to remember that the North and the South Node, these events can have profound impact in both the individual and the collective experience. And here are some of the events that occur. So the nodule returns, for instance, you're gonna have a return at each one, right? Your South Node is going to return the same time as your North Node. The nodular returns occur approximately every 18.6 years within the transitioning North Node return to the same position at where it was where you were born, which will automatically make the South Node return as well. It is the time of significance in the life where there are changes, alignments with your life purpose. This can also prompt reflection and reassessment of your path and often bring about pivotal moments and realizations and reflections. The nodule opposition, it occurs approximately 9 years after your nodular return, when the transitioning North Node is opposite of your natal North Node. It can be a period of tension between the past, we see that past rising up again, the South Node, and the future growth of the North Node, often bringing challenges that push you to evolve. Yes. We see this in relationships. A lot of people think that might have been what Jen and Ben were going through with that 18.6 years of returns with their nodes. I'll be honest, I didn't read their chart at the time. So let's get into the energy of the eclipses. The eclipses, the solar and the lunar eclipses. The eclipses occur when the sun, the moon, and the earth align closely with the North and the South Node. These are powerful times of ending and beginning. The solar eclipses often signify new start opportunities related to themes of the North Node, while the lunar eclipses bring a collective closure. The need to release is in the South Node's patterns. So once again, look at where the eclipses occur and look if it is affecting you in your chart, right? The North Node eclipses, these focus on future growth with new direction and embracing unfamiliar experiences, while the South Node uses these energies to emphasize releasing of the past and letting go of old habits and resolving past karmic issues. The nodule transits and natal planets, when the transitioning north and south node make a conjunction, square, or opposition to your natal planets, it can trigger significant events related to the energies of these planets. For example, your north node transits to your natal sun might push you to step into your true self and life purpose. So I know we haven't got too much into the conjunctions, the squares, and the oppositions. When we are done following up the planets, we're going to go into the zodiacs. When we are done following up the zodiacs, we will go into the houses. You will hear these terms quite frequently. A conjunction and a square and an opposition all have meaning, just like the trines and the sextiles, right? So the nodule transits through the houses as the nodule transits through the house of your natal chart. They activate these themes of that house. So it's important to kind of have a clear understanding of the areas of movements and the aspects. I will be doing a podcast on just the transits because I want everybody to be able to go back and listen to it. I'll probably do it after this, after the bodies of planets. We don't have that many planets. We're done with the planets, so we don't have that many bodies to talk about. I think I might talk about some of the asteroids and some of the smaller bodies of planetary alignment. I talked about all the moon phases in the moon episode. So we will definitely go through all those so everybody has a clearer understanding. The collective influence when we look at the global and the society shifts that the nodes create, we have to remember that the nodes move through the zodiac sign every 18 months, influencing the collective focus. For instance, when the North Node transits Gemini, there is a collective push towards communication and learning and areas of analyzation, areas of adapting that duality, while the South Node would be in Sagittarius, will prompt letting us to go and release our mundane beliefs, also expanding our perspectives and our philosophies. So there's definitely that area of opposition, that area of opposites that we do see with the nodes, right? Especially on a collective influence. So even though the North nodes might not be, they're affecting us in our chart, it might not be our nodular return or our area of nodular opposition, but we do see how that energy affects the collective as a whole. So there are personal nodule aspects, of course, that happen within the chart, but there is also that collective influence as well. Transitioning planets that aspect with the natal nodes. When transitioning planets form aspects such as conjunctions, squares, oppositions, trines, or sextiles to your natal north or south node, they can activate certain themes. For example, a transit of Jupiter to your north node might bring you good opportunities for growth and expansion aligned with your life purpose. The nodule reversal, when I think of the nodule reversals, this occurs halfway through the nodule cycle, around, like we said, 9 to 10 years. After your nodule return, when the transitioning north node is opposite your natal north node, can be a time of significant reassessment and reorientation in your life path. These nodule events are significant periods for personal and collective growth, offering opportunities to align more closely with your true path and purpose. Understanding these cycles can help you navigate the challenges and embrace the new opportunities they bring. Okay, so it's not always like a key focus, right? Oh gosh. Oh no. Oh no. I don't want to do this again. We have to remember that the North and the South nodes stay in each zodiac approximately 18 months. This means it takes about 18.6 years for the nodules to complete a full cycle through the 12 signs of the zodiac. The nodes move retrograde backwards through the zodiac, unlike the typical direct motion of the planets. So the nodes have a different rhythm. The key point is the duration, of the 18 months stays one zodiac, complete cycle, 18.6 years to transit through all 12 signs. Retrograde motion. The nodes move in a backward direction through the zodiac, moving from later degrees to earlier degrees within each sign. So example, if the North Node enters the Aries, it will remain in Aries for about 18 months. With the South Node stimulously in Libra, the opposite, right? The opposite, remember the opposite, for the same duration. At this point, the North Node will move into Pisces and the South Node will move into Virgo. So it's continuously a pattern. And there is that area of transitioning nodes that do have an impact, right? It does have an impact. When we look at the area of the nodes in ancient mythology and ancient astrology, or different forms of astrology, we sometimes hear the name of Rahu and Ketu. In ancient mythology, the North and the South nodes are often referred to as the dragon's head, the North node, and the dragon's tail in South node. This is very aligned with tropical astrology. These names originate from various mythology traditions that are from all over this world, right? All over this world. I'll be honest, I particularly enjoy tropical astrology. I know some spiritualists, some astrologers only, do Vedic, or they understand both. I understand the concept of Vedic. It's more of a cultural preference. We have to remember that Vedic and different forms of astrology is almost seen as a religious practice, and that's why it should always be held sacred. So it is very unsettling when people are like, astrology is stupid. Well, some people might think that Christianity is stupid, but let's not say that, right? So let's get into the Hindu mythology. In Hindu mythology, the North and the South node are seen as Rahu and Ketu, respectively. These stories come from the legend of the churning of the ocean of milk, known as Samudra Manthan. Rahu, the North node. Rahu was originally a demon named Savabhuhanu. During the churning of the ocean, the gods and the demons were working together to obtain the nectar of immorality. Rahu disguised himself as a god to drink the nectar, but the sun and the moon discovered him and informed Vishnu, who decapitated him before the nectar passed his throat. The head Rahu continued to exist and is associated with the North node, symbolizing that desire and that ambition. We see the same traits, the here, the now, living in the present moment, trying to have that immortal nectar. Ketu, the South node, the body of decapitated demon is known as Ketu, representing the South node. Ketu is associated with detachment, spirituality, and past karma. So we see that energy of the past again with the South node, for instance, the dragon's tail, where that energy is done. It's moving past that alignment. Chinese mythology, the celestial dragon, when we are thinking about dragons, We know Chinese astrology is very much different, but one of their key things is the dragon. We are currently in the year of the dragon. And isn't it interesting how, what is that show? House of Dragons. I am in love with that show. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let me stay on topic. Chinese mythology, the celestial dragon. The Chinese mythology, the nodes are connected to the story of the celestial dragon that attempts to devour the sun or the moon, causing eclipses. The dragon's head, also known as the North Node, the head of the dragon represents the future, the growth, and the path forward. It is seen as a part of dragon that consumes and seeks new experiences. The dragon's tail, the South Node. The tail of the dragon represents the past, the karma, that one that carries and needs to release and let go. It is seen as part of the dragon that trails behind, carrying the residual of the past actions. So there's also areas of mythology with Norse mythology. Norse mythology is the nodes are symbolized by wolves, Skull and Hati, who chase the sun and the moon across the sky. We have to remember that there is a representation of the moon with the north and the south node. It does have that energy where we see it in focus of here and now. It is also that area of movement that is referred to like almost like the lunar node. So we have to remember the lunar nodes and the north node and the south node are different. The lunar nodes are the 2 points where the moon's orbital path crosses the plane of the elliptical, the plane of the Earth's orbit around the sun. So it's more of a astronomy aspect. It's, really occurring. Symbolically, they represent the talents and the life path, the destiny of the south and the north node. So it is different. Like an astronomer isn't going to say your north node and your south node where an astrologer were. So the areas of the Norse mythology, the nodes are symbolize the two wolves. Let's get into it. Skuld, the wolf chases the sun, representing the pursuit of new goals and the future, akin to the North Node's energy of growth and aspiration. Hati, the wolf chases the moon, symbolizing the past, the shadows, and what needs to be resolved, similar to the South Node's influence. In Greek mythology, it's not seen as a dragon, it is more seen as a serpent's tail. In Greek mythology, the nodes are sometimes associated with the myth of the serpent that coils around the earth. The Ouroboros is the ancient symbol of the serpent eating its own tail, known as the Ouroboros, represents the cycle of natural life, death, and rebirth. This symbolizes can be linked to the continuous cycle of karma and growth, and represented by the North Node and the South Node. This mythology stories highlight the dual nature of the nodes, one part representing growth and ambition, and that futural aspect of the future potential of areas of obstacles, and the other is representing the past karma, the lessons, and the areas of release that the South Node represents. So we have to remember that even though these mythologies, these storytelling are very different, there is a lot of significance with it in astrology, with the astrological understanding of the nodes and the significance of the personal and collective evolution, right? The symbolism of what the dragon brings of power, strength, protection, and that energy of creation. Also that energy of chaos, that energy of release, that energy of the obstacles. We have to remember that dragons, they're not your friendly dog, even unless you are the queen of dragons, maybe, right? In some mythologies, dragons represent the chaos and the untamed forces of nature. In others, they are seen as being associated with creation and the beginning of life. So dragons, the mythology, the area of storytelling, of influence, has been around for years. Definitely. And in psychological and symbolic interpretations as well, archetypal symbols such as Carl Jung suggests that dragons represents the archetypal symbols of the unconscious mind, embodying the fears and challenges humans must confront and overcome. And also, it has that interpretation of desires and fears, really of the primal sense of movement, right? And we cannot forget the Aztecs had dragons as well. They had Quetzalcoatl, one of the most famous deities of the Aztec mythology. It was the feathered serpent god. It is often depicted as a dragon-like creature with the body of a serpent and feathers of a bird. He is associated with the wind, air, and learning, as well as creation and fertility. The name comes from feathered serpent. So Quetzalcoatl means a feathered serpent in Nahuatl. He was considered a powerful and big deity. He was the god of the gods. And then we have Quetzalcoatl is equivalent to the Mayan mythology of. So Quetzalcoatl was the representation of the Mayan mythology, very similar to Kukulkan, which was a feathered serpent who was worshipped as a deity of wind, rain, and creation. So the pyramid of Chichen El Castillo is famously aligned with the sun, so that during the equinoxes, the shadow of the serpent appears to descend to the pyramid steps, symbolizing Kukulkan. In Inca mythology, we had Amaru. An Inca mythology that was a mythical serpent or a dragon with two heads, one each of the body, and sometimes domesticated with wings. So it was believed to hold areas of the lakes, rivers, and the underworlds as associated with rain and fertility. So we definitely have dragons in a lot of areas of mythology. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the North and South Node. Make sure you check out the full astrology series, and we will be continuing to go through this wonderful series of learning astrology, learning the birth chart, and how you can read the birth chart, not only for yourself, but also for friends and family. So everybody have an amazing day, and thanks so much for listening. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what the North Nodes and South Nodes mean to you. Have a great day. Bye.